the version of you she was actually waiting for. There is a version of you she imagined before she ever met you. Not a fantasy, not some idealized fiction conjured from. Romantic movies, a real, breathing possibility, the kind that lives at the edge of what a man could be when he stops performing and starts becoming. She felt it the moment she looked at you. Something flickered, a recognition, almost, like she was seeing the outline of something not yet finished, and she told herself, consciously or not, that she wanted to be there when it arrived. Most men never realize this happened, and they replay the beginning and remember her laugh, the way she leaned in, how easy it felt. They think she was responding to who they were. She was responding to who she sensed they could become. There is a difference between those two things, and the entire arc of a relationship often lives or dies inside that gap. You have probably spent time wondering what changed. You went over the conversations, the timeline, the night things, shifted. You looked for a cause, a mistake, a single moment to pin it on. That is the wrong search. What eroded was not something you did. It was something you stopped doing. Or, more precisely, something you never fully started. The version of her intuition voted for never quite materialized. The outline. She felt that first night remained an outline, and slowly, without either of you naming it, she began grieving something that was never lost. It was just never built. This chapter is not about winning someone back. It is not a seduction manual wearing a self-improvement disguise. What it is an honest examination of the one force that determines whether a man becomes the person people believe in or the person people quietly give up on. That force is not confidence, as you have been taught to perform it. It is not ambition, status, or the ability to say the right thing at the right moment. It is growth, but not the Instagram variety. Real, uncomfortable, interior growth, the kind that happens when no one is watching, and nothing is guaranteed. This chapter will show you exactly what that looks like, why most men avoid it, and what it costs them in ways they feel but cannot name. The core concept is deceptively simple. Women do not leave. Men they have outgrown. They leave men who stopped, growing while they kept moving. Read that again, slowly, because the distinction matters more than almost anything else you will encounter in this book. Growth is not a destination. It is a pace, a direction. And the men who hold the deepest, most magnetic presence in a woman's life are not the ones who arrived fully formed. They are the ones whose forward motion never stalled. She does not need you to be complete. She needs to feel that you are in motion, that you're working on something real inside yourself, that the man she sees today is not the ceiling but the floor. Picture two men. They are similar on the surface, both decent, looking, both employed, both capable of tenderness on the right. Night. One of them, call him the first man, peaked emotionally at 26. He built a comfortable identity and defended it with everything he had. When life challenged him, he adapted his circumstances to protect his self-image rather than allowing his self-image to be reshaped by circumstance. He is not a bad person. He is, in the truest sense, finished. The second man is not dramatically different in his achievements, but he carries something the first man stopped carrying years ago. Genuine, active curiosity about who he is becoming. He asks hard questions without needing soft answers. He sits with discomfort instead of medicating it. He does not always have things figured out, and he stopped pretending otherwise. Spend an hour with each man and you will feel the difference before you can explain it. Spend a year with each man and the difference will be the entire story. Here is the misconception that costs men the most. Most men believe growth is something you demonstrate. You point to the raise, the physique, the apartment upgrade, the emotional availability you have been practicing since the last breakup. You present evidence. You make a case, and somewhere underneath this, you are waiting to be recognized, waiting for her or for the world to look at the receipts and say, yes, you qualify now. You have changed. We believe you. That is not growth. That is auditing yourself for someone else's approval. And the tragedy is that this posture, this needing to be seen, growing, is itself the proof that the most important growth has not yet happened. Real growth is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need a witness. It is the decision you make at 11 on A. Tuesday night when no one is watching and every comfortable option is available to you, and you choose the harder one. Anyway, it is the conversation you have with yourself in the car after you reacted badly, not to beat yourself up, but to understand the mechanism, to trace the wire from the trigger to the response and ask honestly what it is protecting. It is reading the book not because she mentioned it, but because you have decided that your inner life deserves better material. These things do not photograph well. They do not make good stories at dinner, but they accumulate, and their accumulation changes the texture of how you move through a room, how you listen, how you hold silence, how you handle the moment when someone you love does something that would have destroyed you 2 years ago. Here is the reframe. Stop asking what you need to do to be attractive to her and start asking what kind of interior life you are willing to build for yourself. Not for her, not even for the next woman, for you, because the man who builds that interior life does not need to perform confidence. It radiates without effort. He does not need to manage her emotions. He can simply be present for them without being consumed. He does not chase, not because he has learned a tactic about appearing unavailable, but because he has enough happening inside himself that desperation has nothing to latch onto. The challenge is this. Identify one area of your life where you have been coasting on a version of yourself that was formed years ago, not an area where things are objectively bad, an area where you are competent but comfortable, where you stopped asking questions because you stopped feeling the friction. It might be how you communicate in conflict. It might be how you handle boredom. It might be the relationship you have with your own anger, the way it arrives fast and leaves. Behind residue, you clean up with apologies, but never quite address at the source. Sit with that area. Do not fix it today. Just look at it clearly, without the story you usually tell about it. That looking honest and undefended is the beginning of the only growth that actually changes anything. She sensed this possibility in you at the start. The question was never whether you were capable of it. The question was whether you would choose it, consistently, in the dark, when reward was guaranteed. That question is not answered once. It is answered every day in the small, invisible choices that one sees but everyone eventually feels. The men who become legendary in the lives of the people who love them do not become legendary because they were exceptional from the start. They become legendary because they never stopped demanding more from themselves at the interior level, the level beneath performance, beneath image, beneath even ambition. They kept clearing out the old architecture and building something truer. It hurt, often. It was inconvenient, always. And it was the only thing that mattered. You will not always know if you are doing this correctly. There is no metric for interior renovation, no dashboard that tells you. Your emotional integrity is up 14% from last quarter. What you will have is a slowly deepening sense of your own honesty, a growing tolerance for being seen without the performance, a quieter need to explain yourself. These are not dramatic transformations. They are the way a foundation changes invisibly, structurally, and entirely. The women who matter, the ones with enough depth to genuinely see you, are not waiting for you to be perfect. They are not even waiting for you to be impressive. They are waiting for the specific evidence that you are still becoming, that life has not closed you, that there is still interior motion when they sense that something in them relaxes, not because you have earned comfort, but because the presence of a man who is still growing is one of the rarest and most stabilizing things in a person's life. She does not have to mother you. She does not have to manage the ceiling. She can simply be beside someone who is moving and let that motion inspire her own. Here is what no one tells you. The version of you she was waiting for was not someone without flaws or history or damage. It was someone who had looked at his flaws, his history, his damage, and said, "I'm not finished with myself yet." That sentence, lived out loud in real choices over real time, is the only answer to the question she was silently asking. You do not become that man by trying to become him for her. You become him by deciding you are worth the work, regardless of who is watching.